Okay, story time, chat. This is a good one. Okay, here we go. I absolutely hate driving, so I always like coax someone else to like come with me. It's usually like a really good friend. I had this friend that was gonna come with me, but he bailed last minute, and when he bailed, I was with like this dude, this guy that I'm like sleeping with. He was there when I found out that my friend bailed last minute. So he looked at me and he was like, "I'll take you." And I looked at him and I was like, I don't really know you. And he was like, "It's no big deal. It's just like for a whole weekend." And at this point, I was pretty desperate. Like, let's be real here. I was looking at this man and I was like, you know what? Let's go. You can come with me. Let me just ask my friend and make sure that it's okay. So me and this guy, pretty much a stranger at this point, but you know, he's been inside of me, but that doesn't really mean much. Anyways, he came with me. We drove across state lines together. Anyway, the point is, we got there at my friend's house. It was a great time. We had a great time. There's no problems there. I come back home to New York at this point, and I have a lot of anxiety. I gotta be real with you. I have a lot of anxiety, so I usually look for my keys earlier than we're even like close to my apartment. So we're about an hour and a half into this drive, and I'm like, I should check on my keys. Like, I know I have them. So I go into my bag and I'm looking for my keys, and I cannot find my keys. So I call my friend from the state that we were in, and she and her husband, they look everywhere for these goddamn keys, nowhere to be found. So now I start rummaging through this car. Like, this guy's driving. He's driving us home, and I'm rummaging everywhere that you could look for a pair of goddamn keys, and they're nowhere to be found. So at this point, I'm like, okay, what happened? I looked at the guy, and he's like, you had the keys. I saw you put them in your bag. So I rip open my bag. Keys are not there. So I'm like, okay, we don't know where the keys are. They have to have fallen near my apartment, right? So he drives the extra three hours. We get to my apartment. Now, we take like an hour. I'm not even joking with you. We take like an hour with our cell phones. It's 1 a.m. at this point, by the way. So we have our cell phones and our little flashlights, and we're walking around this apartment, down my street, up my street, under where the car used to be, near my neighbors, all around. These keys are nowhere to be found. So the good thing is that I have family that lives by. So I start calling all my family who have the keys to my apartment, because that's just like a smart thing to do. You should always like give your keys to somebody you trust. But anyways, nobody picks up. At this point, it's becoming 2 a.m. and the only option I have is to get on the subway, which, as you guys know, people are getting punched in the subway in New York at this very moment in time. So this guy, being the nice guy that he is, he's a pretty nice guy. At this point, I was with him for 2 days straight. So he looks at me and goes, you know, you can just come to my apartment, no big deal. And I was like, what's your living situation? Because of course, nice guy, who also I know nothing about. And he was like, well, I live with my dad. Now, listen, in this economy, that doesn't bother me. I don't really give a f. You live with your parents, that's awesome. You're saving money, do you, boo? So I was like, okay, awesome. Now, that probably wasn't the smartest thing, but it was like 2:30 a.m. Yeah, I decided I was gonna go to this random apartment with this random guy to meet his random father to sleep over for the night so that I could get my keys in the morning. But anyway, yeah, so I said yes, right? So, I go. So I go, we're driving. It takes us 30 minutes to get there. So at this point, it's like 3 a.m. We get to this apartment, he looks at me, he hands me a towel. He goes, hey, why don't you take a shower? You know, yeah, I know the situation's a little weird. He's like, make yourself comfortable, go take a shower, use whatever you need. So I do. There's a lock on the door. I feel pretty safe, whatever. I get out, I see the couch, I see the bathroom, I see the kitchen, and I see that there's only one other room. So at this point, I'm thinking, oh, this guy sleeps in the living room. At this point, and again, in this economy, I don't give a I get it. Especially like if you're gonna be respectful to your dad, but you give your dad the room, right? You give your dad the room. That makes a ton of sense. It's 3:30 in the morning. At this point, I don't really give a So this guy goes to take his own shower. I'm just scrolling on TikTok, whatever, not thinking about it. So he comes out, you know, whatever. He sits down with me. He's like, are you tired? I was like, yeah, I'm pretty tired. We should just like go to sleep. You know, I'm just trying to rush this situation. The sooner I go to bed, the sooner I can wake up, the sooner I can see my cats, I can get into my apartment. So he looks at me, he goes, okay. So he starts turning off all the lights, and I'm like, what's happening? And he gets up, and he tells me to follow him. So I'm like, okay, I'll bite. And he goes up to the one room. Remember the one room? Now we know in this situation that he lives with his dad, and there's a door there. So then I'm thinking, you know what? This is New York. There's some New York apartments where you have to walk through someone else's room to get to your room. I've lived like that before. So this guy opens the door, right? And I see the room. And I'm like, okay, where's the other door? Chat, there is no other door. So, in this particular situation, I was going to be sleeping in a room with this guy and his dad.
What the heck?
I should have been more scared, but I wasn't. The dad was snoring, so I knew he was there. So I'm like, do I get in the bed? Do I go home? Do I just wait on my porch? Do I go to like a bodega and just buy 15 pieces of pizza and just wait until it turns 6 o'clock in the morning? What do I? No, I got into bed with this dude and his dad. And, you know, I slept really well. And the guy was in the middle, so it was like not that big of a deal, I guess. I think my only issue with this situation is that I wasn't warned. I mean, the whole situation is pretty bad. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, I wake up and the dad's not there, so was he even there? He was. He was absolutely there because I got confirmation from the guy in the morning. I had to ask questions. I was like, was that your dad? And he was like, it absolutely was. And I was like, next time, maybe a warning about the situation I'm about to be in. And he was like, my bad. I just, you know, you needed a place to stay and you really didn't have any other options. And the moral of the story, chat, really is I should get more friends in my neighborhood. True story, facts.